family. Once again, here I'm going to come with some really interesting content. But before I do that, please like, please subscribe, please comment. I want to hear from you. I love when you comment. If there's some questions that you have, it gives me ideas on like what type of content to post. So please, please, please comment on something that you may want to know, or you have a question about something. Like, you know, in school they always say there is no wrong answer or no wrong stupid question. So please ask questions if there's something that you're interested in and you're wanting to know. It also gives me an idea about content. But today, what I want to share with you today, it's just I like a little kid inside. I'm like I'm so excited because, like, you know how like sometimes you find out things and you're like, wow, I never thought of that. Like, Mika, like, I should do a course on this, but I'm not going to do a course on it. I'm just going to give this content away for free. And I think I'll probably do another video on this because it's a little bit more detailed, but I just want to kind of get to the juicy nuggets today. It's kind of like a win for me. I actually was going to different banks because as you guys know, in overages, I've been working this county that has been getting on my last nerve. Like, I don't even know if I ever want to, like, invest in this county again, or I don't want to say invest, but like work the overage again. But I guess now that they took me through the ringer, now I know everything that I need. Anyway, make a long story short, they will not give me the check in my name. It's going to be a POA. And so I was just going to different banks just so that in the event that one of my students might have this problem, or just in case you might have this problem, I'm going to give you the information. You probably have to go to your bank and make sure and verify that they will allow you to cash a check in someone's name as long as you have a POA, which is a power of attorney. Anyway, I was going to this bank just number one to see if they would allow that. I know my bank does, but you know, everybody doesn't have Navy Fed, but there are Chase, and Chase, oh my God, they get on my nerve. I don't even know why that's my like number one bank where I keep everything. But anyway, that's another story. I'm in Texas, and there is this bank in Texas. I don't really want to give away the name because I feel like this is some good content to share with my students. But I've been seeing this bank, never saw this bank anywhere before except for in Texas. And so I've been wanting to go there. And so I decided to go there the other day. And once again, I was talking about, you know, will they allow a power of attorney if I was to bring a check in someone else's name, but I have the power of attorney for them to sign it over to me, right? But as you guys know, I do business credit. And I was just curious because that's one of the things why I wanted to go to this bank, because, you know, they have this advertisement about, you know, business bank accounts. Well, number one thing, this is a golden nugget. Hear me and hear me clear. I would not bank with any bank business-wise unless they would allow me to have a business line of credit, right? The reason why I say this is because a lot of times you may not get a business loan, but you could get a business line of credit. And I personally think business lines of credit is better than a loan because the interest rate is smaller. You could borrow as much or as little as you want, and you pay on that. For example, I'll give you guys some game. I do have a bank in California where I have a business line of credit, $30,000, took out $10,000, and I was only paying $150 a month. That's pretty, you know, pretty reasonable, right? For 10 grand, you pay $150 a month. And with that 10 grand, that's where I brought those 5 lots. So business credit is very good if you have good credit. But this brings me to my point. Now, I do have to go back and ask them, was that based on my credit or the collateral conversation we were having? Because I'm going to bank it on my collateral conversation, but I'm sure they checked my credit, but I'm going to have to call and ask about that because now I'm thinking about that. So anyway, for those that have ever wanted to start a business or ever wanted to get money to invest in something, the 3 things that most banks look for is credit, collateral, and cash, right? But most of the time people may have cash but not credit, or they may have collateral but not cash or credit, meaning collateral is, you know, a boat, or pretty much they're looking for like assets like a house or something like that. So most of the time some people may have like a home but they don't have any cash, or they don't have any credit. Well, this brings me to the point of why I'm like even more excited about like tax deeds, because I'm like, yes, oh my God. So I'm talking to the banker, and you guys, I know a lot about banking. I know a lot about real estate, but when I go into a bank, you know, there's very little I know about banking, especially when it comes to what I want to say. what I'm trying to say. What I want to say is I'm thinking like I don't know the ins and outs, like what are their matrix in regards to like why they would deny someone and why they would accept someone, because I feel like oftentimes the banking systems are different, and I also really believe that different banks have different guidelines. So a lot of times when I'm going into different banks like this that I've never banked with before, I'm always asking a lot of different questions, because especially certain banks do have a certain amount of funds that they do have to help certain businesses. So when I'm going in, I'm really trying to figure out like what it is that they look for in a business, right? Because there are some banks that do have special programs and they cater specially for new business owners. However, I'm not a new business owner, but one of the things that I wanted to ask them was, what if I don't have good credit? How do you guys determine the business line of credit, how much you would give to a person, and what are some of the necessary needs? Or like, do they do underwriting approval? Do they do desk approval? Do they look at how long you've been in business versus your credit, or do they look at collateral though? So these are all the things that I ask, when it comes to banking guidelines and business lines of credit, because a lot of banks are going to have different guidelines. That's just what it is. It's just like every county has different rules when it comes to their overages or their tax deed auctions. So this bank in particular, one of the things I was, curious about was, would you guys go off of strictly collateral, right? Because I'm like thinking in my head, like, okay, I have way more collateral, but the difference between, 2008 and 2009 is that all the properties I had back then were not free and clear. Whereas now I have over, 5 properties, but all of them are free and clear except for the one in California. And I'm sure you guys already know why, right? So anyway, all the properties that I've bought, purchased and kept over the last, I think, a year or so, because the first year I just flipped a lot of my properties, but the last year I've been pretty much holding them. And this brings me to the strategy of, if you don't have, a lot of money and you want to buy a property, and that property may be, worth more than what you purchase it. Like, for example, I have a link in the caption how you can buy properties for $2,000, and I'm not gonna show you how and where to go. I actually give you a list of properties that you can buy for $1,000 or less. And I've done some of the research on some of those properties. I even bought some of those properties already, and all of them were worth $60,000 and $70,000. Of course, I sold mine for like 10 or 12 because I'm not trying to fix and flip in another state. I'm just not going to do it. However, what I want you to get from this is that you can purchase property even if you have a very little limited cash, and then you can leverage that with the bank. Now, the little interesting details is that it is advisable to have a corporation. Number one, it is advisable to have some decent credit. Like, you can't go in there, I'm not going to lie and sell you any wooden nickels, you can't go in there with the 550 credit score. I mean, it actually literally has to be 650 above. But these are questions you can ask banks, because some banks will be willing to give you money at a 650 or below if you have more collateral. But what I wanted you to get from this video is the difference between how it was investing in 2008 and 2009 and now, and the reason why, before they were only giving me like 20 and 30, and now they gave me $100,000 worth of business line of credit. I really strongly believe it's because of the collateral that I have. And not only do I have this collateral, but I own them all free and clear. And I think the banks look at that and they would be more willing, and I don't want to speak for all banks, this just particular bank I have been eyeing since I moved to Texas. I had never seen it before, and lo and behold, they're like, a dream come true. And I'm gonna go back and ask about the credit part, but one of the things that I just thought about was like, wow, people that don't have a lot of money, they could buy something and use that to collateralize at a bank or somewhere else to get more money. So that's what I wanted you to get from this video, and I just wanted to share my win. I was super excited to find out that there are banks out there that still do give business lines of credit based on collateral. Hope this information helps.